Well, good morning and welcome to Talking Baseball Australia Live on Q, the official dog of TBA, at least in North America. We've got two of them. Barks on Q. Glad you're along. Good morning to you in Australia. Good evening to you, North America. Glad you're along on Talking Baseball Australia Live. Baseball's best made. Paul Morgan and I are coming to you in 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
It's Talking Baseball Australia. It's baseball updates you'll really love. The MLB and ABL news you want. With Paul Morgan and Dan Vaughn. It's baseball's best mate all year round. From the batters
Yes.
to
Welcome to the show,
mound.
everybody. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Paul be with us in just be with us in just a moment as I will unmute his mic and bring him on as well. We've got another rocking show, another busy. I shouldn't say busy week. We got two things going on right now. First off, good morning to you. How you doing, bud?
Good morning, sir. I'm well, very well. We're looking outside. The sun's shining, blue skies. Of course, baseball in the state league sense is back in the west, and a nice 36-degree day on Sunday, I think, coming up, so around the 100 mark in Fahrenheit. So, if the borders were open, DV, it would be, about this time many years ago was that marked the start of the ABL season, but not so much this year.
Yeah, I can vision a Team USA All-Star game against a Perth Heat club with running guys in and out. And heck, I remember the trip down to Mandurah a couple years ago when we did that. I mean, it'd be that time to get all the kinks out. Unfortunately, there's a lot of kinks going on right now. It's called 2020.
It is
2020. I mean, you got the AFL Grand Finals a month late. The World Series is kind of in this bubble thing. Sport's been turned upside down. The world's been turned upside down. But we're going to try to make some sense of the Australian Baseball League. Again, Paul Morgan on the Australian side, Dan Vaughn on the North American side. We're glad you're along. Quickly tell you guys what's going on. What I was going to say was, before I brought Paul on, you've got something kind of cooking, which is what's going to happen with the Australian Conference and the International Conference and the Australian Baseball League. We know some of the facts. We're going to cover a little bit of that. There's not a lot of new news there. We expected to hear something this week. I did reach out. I know Paul and I both have spoken to Cam Vale this week, head of the ABL, CEO of the ABL. Nothing really to report new than what you saw last week on their channels or what we've talked about. It's just kind of bubbling there, waiting for that final ingredient. And we got the hot stove going, a couple of big names. And then this last weekend, we had our we haven't done this in a while. It's been a while. We had a Talking Baseball Australia field trip. My wife and I did a field trip to the new Globe Life Field, which is home of the World Series. And at the time, we went on Saturday. It was Game 6 of the National League Championship Series, Dodgers and Braves. I've got a nice little field trip report coming to you as well, the back end of the show. We got all that going for you. But first off, partner, last night, series even up 1-1 in the major leagues, the Rays and the Dodgers World Series. We're not going to dive in and break it down too much, but I think that's probably where folks thought this series might be through 2 ball games. You had your starter going for the Dodgers, your ace in Game 1, your bullpen in Game 2. I think this is probably what a lot of fans are hoping for, and I think both clubs feel pretty good about where they sit.
Yeah, well, I was reading an interesting tidbit this morning. Blake Snell, of course, who tossed a gem for the Rays. Like before the game, he didn't really quite feel it. So out he went did a gym session, did some, I think, on the treadmill, ran a mile, did a few things, come out and threw a gem. So look, I felt that the Rays had to take the first 2 games if they were a chance of this series. They dropped Game 1. Nice to see though Clayton Kershaw having a good performance, as you had Texas's finest. DV Clayton Kershaw, who had a great Game 1 as well, but felt like the Rays had to take the first 2 games to have a chance. I think now Game 3, 4, 5 really sits an advantage of the Dodgers. So it's whether they take the next 3 and win it or not, or the Rays can pinch a few. Who knows, DV? Your thoughts so far?
Well, a couple of things. First off, it's great to see Australian Baseball League connections playing in both League Championship Series and the World Series. Of course, Kevin Kiermaier, Mike Brosseau, Ji-Man Choi went deep last night, home run as well. Brosseau had a couple of RBIs in the opener. I mean, he had 1 RBI in the opener in Game 1. Yeah, pitch hit RBI, which is even tougher. But I think that's cool. Always, it's when we talked about this a lot. What's really neat about the Australian Baseball League 2020 as opposed to 2012, 13, or 11, or whatever, you're seeing guys in the World Series who played in our league, and we're seeing that. We weren't seeing that 4 or 5 years ago. We're seeing it now. Of course, had a steady dose of Acuna over the weekend as well. That is my first knee jerk. I think, too, the Dodgers won the game they had to win. You've got to win when your ace goes. Yeah. If Kershaw loses that opener and he doesn't do what he needs to do, then you start to worry because the bullpen is game 2 starter. It's Johnny Allstaff. When Buehler and Kershaw go, those are the 2 games the Dodgers have to win. And I think it's played to form last night. And really, LA came back late, but I think that's to be expected in a tight series like this. But my 2 thoughts: A, the ABL; B, LA won the one they had to win with Kershaw and with their bullpen. Hey, you throw your bullpen out there. Maybe Johnny Allstaff gets it done. Maybe they don't. Yeah. They didn't, and you're 1-1, and you've got the going to the weekend. So it's exciting baseball. It's different. And not to bog down too much here because we're going to get more of the ABL, but is it different for you watching this year? Because I know you spent a lot of time watching those postseason games you have over the years. Is it different from your seat, from your couch, from wherever you're watching it from than in years past, or does it still feel like postseason baseball?
I actually think what's really cool about this World Series is, and I know back end of the show, Dan, of course, you're at Globe Life Field. You're going to do a tour for us, video tour for us, which was really cool. But I think 2 things. I think the fact that you, the viewer, me, the viewer, is relatively unfamiliar with Globe Life Field kind of means like, every time a foul ball or a wide shot or something happens, you kind of, you might be interested to be like, oh, cool, that little part of the ballpark that you don't really know. Definitely improvement though with fans in the stands for sure. I think the fans in the stands have given the game a bit more life as well. And look, they've actually been, even the Dodgers come back and that Braves against the Braves and the Tampa Bay series as well. They were good series as well. I mean, no, that one wasn't in Texas, but the series in Texas, right. The Dodgers getting into the World Series. It was good to see fans, good to see a new ballpark. Yeah, it's still not obviously at the level. I think, but the fans in the stands is such a huge thing. And I think that's the one thing, if you try to watch, watch the AFL over the weekend, they had a lot of fans in the stands, makes an enormous difference to the viewer experience. And I think if anything ever happens from sports out of this pandemic, you could never, ever, ever, ever discount the value that fans bring because, without them, the game is just not nearly as exciting. But I mean, I think, we started to see things in Arlington, we started to see things like fans catching foul balls again. And, like little tidbits that the broadcasters could have about, the interaction, guys drinking beers or eating pretzels or doing whatever they're doing. I think it's fun. So the World Series has been a lot more fun than any series to that point, in my opinion.
Yeah, and let me ask you this before we move on. This time next week, who's your champion? We're 1-1, so we're even. Who are we going to be talking about a week from Friday or today?
Look, I think the Dodgers, but I would like the Dodgers, even though the Tampa Bay have a better connection to the ABL, which would be such a great story if they won as well. But both you and I, DV, the Dodgers are our National League team, yes. So I think we'd both be happier if the Dodgers won. But if Tampa Bay win, good luck to them. But there'll be another team that will beat the Rangers to the World Series.
Right? Yeah. It's painful as that may seem. We're baseball's best mate. We're talking Baseball Australia. We're live here on Facebook Live, and we are rolling right along talking ABL. By the way, you can fire off your questions, comments. I've got those up, and if you do want to ask something away, if you've got an opinion, or I didn't have a question of the day. I just kind of. I didn't get one today, but if you do have something you want to add, please feel free, as I'm going to pull up the questions and comments here in just a moment. I had them up, and I was there we go. If you guys do have something, just please fire them away. We'll try to good to see Shane out there as well. A couple of things. I want to touch on your fan thing for a little, because it kind of transitions to where we're going. And I think this is one of the reasons why we're a little bit in the holding mode with the Australian Baseball League for plan C, D, whatever we're at now. And you brought a really good point up. It was, yes, it was not like a world. I've been to World Series games before. They were I had a standing room only seat to my first World Series game ever back in 2010. That being said, going to National League Championship Series, you should be a standing room only as well. It wasn't because it's in a bubble. That being said, I've heard this from players, both in the major leagues and in the National Football League, that playing in front of crowds has definitely, despite it being 25, 30%, 50%, whatever, has changed their approach. For example, the Arizona Cardinals came into to Arlington last Monday and just annihilated the Jerry's Dallas Cowboys. And one of the things that some of the players said was the fact they were so fired up knowing they were going to be able to play in front of 25, 30,000 folks. Now, usually that place is going to have 80 or 90,000, but the fact they had played in Seattle with they played the Rams in LA with nobody in the stands was a big deal. So I think players and players are playing off that energy. It's something that the ABL, I know, is in holding pattern because we're going to obviously have, and I was asked this today, what are the restrictions going to be for the Australian Baseball League? And we know there'll be limited crowds in some form or fashion, state by state. But don't you know those players, if it's at 500 fans, is going to make a difference as opposed to no fans? It's got to be weighing heavily on Cam Vale and the brass of the ABL, I would think.
Oh, 100%. I mean, but I just think, particularly at the ABL level, though, I think, you could probably, the Dallas Cowboys, the 30,000 fans they're getting is great. It's great to have 30,000 fans in the stand and whatnot, but it's probably not, Jerry Jones is so rich, DV, that it's not really going to take it. But the ABL, they need fans in the stand. So I think whatever happens, plan A, B, C, D, or E, or F has to involve fans because, financially, you just majorly need them financially. But I'm with you. I think, it's like, I was at the State League the other night and it was great. It was great to be there. There's a couple of hundred fans, but it's a different experience even watching baseball with 200 fans to 2,000 fans. So need the fans, DV, and good to see a few folks out there as well. Nicholas Batters as well.
Yes, I'm going to fire him. Yeah, but I'm going to give
a good interview coming up with
put it on the screen for you guys. He's got Nicholas, of course, with the Aces, and over here in North America, he's got a coming up after our show. He's going to be putting up an interview with John Diebel that was going to be putting that up for you guys. So check that out on the Aces Facebook page. We'll be more than happy. But here's the deal. And this is this is freelancing here, so Paul, so I apologize. We're going to try to keep this short today.
Yeah.
We're not in the business of running anybody off the coverage map in this league. Phil is a dear mate of ours in Adelaide. We want his broadcast, what he does, to be great. We want Nicholas and the guys in Victoria to do a great job. We want our work to be. I believe, because it's not always like that, wasn't always like that in our league, but we want to make sure we're all helping each other cover and get that coverage out of it. And if you guys got things to put on there, man, we want to hear it. We want to be able to help promote you guys here at Talking Baseball Australia.
And just a side note, this week launched a new podcast for the Sydney Blue Sox Banter.
Yes.
So Glenn Hawke and a couple of guys doing the Blue Sox Banter, which will be a great one as well. So check that out for Blue Sox fans. But the more cover, and that's I know we've got sidetracked a bit, but that's the one thing
we always do.
more than anything is the more coverage baseball can get in this country, the better. I mean, we've got I was only talking to a couple of people yesterday. You've got a guy like Liam Hendricks who's probably going to sign for an enormous amount of money, you would assume. Give him the coverage. Give him all the coverage. Give the Candyman the coverage. Give anyone the coverage, DV. The more people we have talking and writing and tweeting and messaging about baseball, the far better the game will be in the long term.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it too, Nicholas and Phil. And this actually segues to what we're talking about. Do you remember, well, actually, I'm going to save it, but David Candelas and Tim Atherton both are two names that when I first came to the ABL in 12-13, and I returned home to the States after the season was over, these are two guys who I covered on a nightly basis, tweeting about them, following their game stories, following their teams. I reached out to both the play-by-play broadcasters in Tulsa, or actually one was in Cedar Rapids for Atherton. I believe the Candyman was out west, and then he went to Tulsa that year. I got to know those guys and got to follow, not them personally, their broadcasters were getting notes and tidbits and photos. because that's what we do at Talking Baseball Australia. We cover you. We cover the Australian connections in North America as well, something we really believe in. And this is one of the first guys I remember covering here. I remember going to see him play in the Texas League when he played down in Frisco. And whenever one of these guys, Team Australia members, is back and the band back together again at Canberra, nation's capital, big signing though. But good to have David Candler. It's one of the real good. One of the good guys in this league.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, another one, and we've the sort of the consistent thing we've spoken about in the hot stove off-season period is keeping these guys in, keeping these names in. And he comes out to I don't know if he still does. He used to walk out to the Candyman song by Christina Aguilera. Not sure if he still does or not, but just one of the folk up in Canberra love him. He's a real nice, great guy, and terrific to have him staying in the ABL.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Canberra also making pretty big news. I'm going to jump on this one real quick. Former Perth Heater Tucker Nathans, who played in the Independent American Association 2 years ago in Winnipeg. Nathans is back, played with the Heat, what was that, 15? But he's a big Canberra import. But he's been a steady part of what they've been doing. I kind of forgotten, I want to say forgotten him, because with the American Association didn't play this year, I didn't get a chance to see him play, but this is a guy that Canberra can plug in, and he's going to be at the top, top of the lineup type guy. And we saw plenty of him when he was in Perth. This is one of those imports you got to have.
100%, and he did a lot. And he was one of those guys, DV, we found last year, and then we saw it, of course, in the first round of the postseason when we were in Canberra with possible coronavirus. But we were not doing good, sir. Crook, I guess you call it, right? Yeah, Crook. Yeah, well, Crook. It was. But look. He just he was a little piece that just sort of just ticked away and just got timely hits. Defensively was very good, and a great sort of little piece to add back into that Canberra lineup.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Quickly too, as far as Canberra's concerned, I mentioned last week, and I don't know if you saw it. But Canberra did some really good things, and this wasn't on our script, but I just want to come throw it out there because we're going to talk about some stuff in a moment. But Canberra getting involved locally there, marketing-wise. We like to point out marketing because we believe, you and I believe, that sales and marketing are a big part of our league. But to see them last week, and to see them ink when I say ink, that's I guess the best term to use, but that Lifeline deal now, which is a local group there in Canberra. But good to see that. And your thoughts, you're a marketing guy. You want to see sales and marketing. We need more of this. Whenever this happens, this is good.
It is good. And look, Lifeline's an organisation that rolls nationally in Australia. It's it's for people who are obviously not feeling their mental health is getting the better of them, and they just need they need someone to talk to. So it's certainly like two things. One, it's a great signing, but it's such an important message. I think in the year 2020, Lifeline and organisations, anything around mental health has been such hugely in demand. So if Lifeline can get out as well and be part of a sporting team and be the Lifeline Canberra Cavalry, again, because if we can take that stigma away from what happens in mental health, it's huge and it's enormous, and it's far bigger than anything that like far bigger than putting any other logo on your shirt. Sure. It's an organisation that, look, it may 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 people in the ABL or something may sort of, because the Lifeline Canberra Cavalry, they may reach out to Lifeline and as a result turn their lives around. So I just commend Dan Amodio and the crew at Canberra. It's such a great thing that they've done. And, if there's one industry, DV, that we know that, and especially in Australia and throughout the world, it's mental health is something that is just something that has to be really highlighted throughout our communities, particularly in Victoria, particularly in lockdown parts of Australia. There's so much going on. There's so many families, loved ones that can't see each other. So many people can't come back to Australia. There's just so much going on that, to have a team proudly wear the Lifeline logo, I think is great. And it's just really another big tick for the ABL and Canberra.
Yeah, I haven't said today. The ABL's got to play. The American Association's got to play. All these leagues got to play because I can't handle another year of not playing, another season not playing. And it gets in your head. It can be depressing. There have been nights this summer, and I'll admit it, partner. There have been nights this summer over here in North America where I just didn't flat out sleep because I should be in Sioux Falls or should be in Chicago or Kansas City. I should be in the booth this night instead of laying there in bed going, why am I in bed at 11 o'clock at night instead of doing my post-game wrap-up, right? So I've been there. I want to quickly touch on the Auckland duo just quickly. The Bash brothers are back. They bring back Josh Morgan and Jarrett Walker. Those two coming back. Tuatara, I mean, they just keep adding, and a couple of guys there. I didn't realize just how dangerous those two combined for last year, but I saw the ABL story on the website. 53 driven in combined between the two of them, 12 homers. Those are two guys plugged right in the middle of the lineup. I went back and watched the video, I guess a couple weeks ago, of their series against the Heat, and those guys were, you plug in guys that can drive in 53 in a 25, 30, 40 game season, you're going to be okay.
Yeah. And look, and in positive news for Tuatara in general, it sort of looks like the hub for New Zealand may happen before the season. So let's hope that the Tuatara are playing out there in New Zealand as well. Those guys are huge though, DB. And every team needs those Bash brothers though.
You gotta have them.
And that's what the Aces had so well last year.
Well, but that's
murder's row almost.
On this, as we move to the next subject here, our next player in a moment, I'm of the opinion that the league has gotten better at acquiring talent, and I can make an argument right now, although I still think the Aces are the team to put the rent payment on right now. But I mean, you wouldn't be crazy to bet on Auckland or to bet on Sydney or to bet on Brisbane or bet on anyone. These lineups all look pretty super juiced for the most part, I think.
Yeah,
Anyway, Matt, good to see you, Matt. Sorry about that. Talking Baseball Australia Live, baseball's best mate. Real quick question here from Harold in the West. Are we still associated with Harley-Davidson with Perth Heat? Can you touch on that? I do believe the answer is yes. It's still Perth Harley-Davidson ballpark, right? Oh, I just lost my partner there. We will get him back in just a moment here. And while we're waiting for him to get back, I'll go ahead and move along. Mentioned the Brisbane Bandits a moment ago. Tim Atherton. I mentioned his time in Cedar Rapids with the Angels farm system. Again, we talked a lot about David Candelas getting back. These Team Australia type mainstays, these guys that are parts of the future or of the current, not the future, the current Team Australia. You get these guys back that do the at-bats and the innings. This is a guy that every time he goes out, it seems like, and I've called, probably 4 games that he's pitched against the Heat, at least 2 there, 2 in Perth, 2 in Brisbane. Personally, the guy's an innings eater, goes out, throws strikes, a phenomenal movement. And what he's done as he gets older in his career, what he's done, this is where it really translates big time at the national level, where I really think this thing it was really important. His changes speeds, he doesn't throw as hard as he used to, but he's able to his location is the key, and that also translates better location. Also, you can change your gears. If you're hitting the outside corner, but you're able to change speeds of that outside corner, you don't got to be over dominating stuff. You got to throw strikes, but change speeds and your location are key. And this is a guy that's done that time and time again. I love watching him and Blackley both really dissect lineups, to watch them pitch. And there were the first couple of guys I've noticed going back 4 or 5 years ago who had pitched backwards one time. And what I mean by that is Paul is coming back, I do believe. And Atherton's a guy, along with Travis Blackley, who had pitched what I call backwards. He would go, maybe work fastball, slider his first time through, and then maybe second time through, same thing. Then suddenly, third time through, he's going changeup, slider, breaking ball, whatever. Pitching what I call backwards sometimes, and I love to see that. Partner, I just jumped in. I lost you there for a moment here on Baseball's Best Mate, Talking Baseball Australia Live, but I was mentioning Atherton. We got to get these national guys innings, got to get them exposed. Yeah. This is a guy that if you're going to make some noise nationally on the national stage, currently, this is a guy.
100%. I don't know what happened. I fell into the abyss of the internet, and just next minute it wasn't on the screen. But Atherton is again. We talk about Candless, we talk about Atherton, and I love what you're saying with with Atherton as well, with Travis Blackley as well. As that 1-2 punch is such a great punch for Australia and Brisbane and everyone in between. But like this year, like if nothing else, we've really got to ramp up that Team Australia exposure as well. DV, like they've still got an outside chance to get to the Olympics. Still got regardless of what happens, we need these guys, getting in and doing the work. So,
yeah, no doubt about it. And again, they got it's such a, and they're not alone. They're not the only ones. This is a problem. And here's the deal: where maybe years gone by, and this is off topic for where we're about to close this thing out and go to our video, but it's not just Australia; it's also Japan. I mean, every country's been affected by this, and every league has been affected. Maybe with the exception of Korea, Taiwan, but a lot of even Team USA guys, some of those guys didn't get a full season in. They're not coming in, guns a-blazing. We're not even sure when spring training may actually begin. So some of the advantages that some of these teams have going in the Olympics next year may or may not happen. You didn't have any college seasons. You've got, I believe Team USA has a couple of All-Americans who didn't pitch at all this year. They hadn't pitched since 2019, the fall of 19. So you've got that going on too. And a guy like Atherton, experience, going to be able to help bridge that gap and close that gap. Because again, I think a lot of these teams, at least going to the qualifier, will come back to the pack a bit. You've got your 2 or 3 up here, but I think because no one's been playing full time, you're going to see the close the gap, and it'll be good to see the national team do that. Let me give one more thing too. I don't know if you saw this, but kind of fun. I love what Brisbane's doing. This is a marketing thing. Yeah. They're doing the spring training thing for members and for sponsors. We're doing the spring training thing. I don't know if you saw this, but they began a couple of nights ago. Of course, Vidicon, did I say that right? The new stadium name as well, as they taken over the naming rights to Holloway Field. They're at Newmarket. I call it the Wrigley Field of Australia. But a couple good things. A, new team sponsor for the stadium naming rights. And then they got spring training, got a logo. They're ready to go. They're marketing their thing, getting a chance to get the younger players out there, that development squad and all that. Mark Reedy and company, and then, of course, Dave Nielsen and Baseball Queensland. Those guys seem to be on the right track growing the game, aren't they?
100%. And look, if nothing else, it's an opportunity, from a season where, if you're an owner, you're going to have to look at the financials of your team. That would look pretty great on some T-shirts, wouldn't it? Like, so, no,
I love it. It looks just like it, does it? Does it look like one of those? Yeah. Does it look like one of those shirts you would have got in spring training?
It looks like it looks like you're down in the Grapefruit League or the Cactus League or something. It's great.
I love it.
It's awesome. It's a brilliant shirt.
Yeah, it's and they got Vidicon Stadium there in Brisbane, so good to see that. That's some really good things there. And here's the deal. Before we go to the final thing here. When you see things like this, it gets me excited for what lies ahead for what we're doing and for the entire league and for all the teams. And we just it shows you that if you make some effort, to try to grow the game, and we see it in Victoria, we see it all around the country. I mean, I use Victoria because I love what they've been doing the last couple of years in Melbourne. But you got to stick your neck out there. You see what Sydney's doing. You mentioned a moment ago earlier about their podcast. Can't stick your neck out there and take some chances and grow this thing. Not everything's going to work, but you got to make an effort. And I love what these teams are doing, making an effort. And good on Mark Reedy and of course, Adam Dobb and everyone doing what they're doing. But there you go. So, Harold, I don't know if you saw this from Harold. Harold asked a question, and I'll put on the screen again, too. I'm talking Baseball Australia Live, and let you answer it because you went away when this was happening. Still Perth Harley-Davidson Ballpark? I believe it is. Is that still the case?
No, it's not. It's back to Baseball Park, but the naming rights the naming rights are on the market. So
they're on the market. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So it's
I thought so. I thought so because I thought I heard you. We're going to talk more about Baseball Australia or Western Australia in a couple of weeks, and when we're going to get more of that because I know they had a state league kickoff and all that. But one more question before we go to the final to the video. I brought this up last week, and Stuart Capel actually brought this up. Do you think, say the guys in the state league now, is that an advantage for the players in the West and maybe in Queensland who are playing state league ball because places aren't able to play state league? That's got to be some kind of advantage to be getting those at bats in. I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? I mean, we're just talking about getting at bats and innings. It's got to be an advantage for guys.
Oh,
We saw Sam Kennelly have a big night last night. It's got to be.
100%, and they're playing a couple of games a week at the moment, and like what's interesting though, if you look at this is, I mean, purely from a Perth Heat perspective, you've got kind of two teams in the state leagues that seem to basically have the entire Perth Heat squad. So you've got the Morley Eagles and the Melville Braves. So they basically have But look, I think one thing that the big advantage is getting, particularly in the Morley hitting lineup, is you've got, I think their lineup goes the Jesse Williams to Alex Hall to Ulrich Biarski to so they're getting they're hitting behind each other, they're knowing what each other are doing, they're seeing each other in the field. So yeah, it has to be an advantage, and look, that's it's hopefully, just looking at Victoria, I know there's a press conference going on with their their Premier Dan Andrews at the moment. Hopefully they're allowed out. There's only one corona case there at the moment overnight. So hopefully everyone will be playing ball nationally soon, DV.
Yes. And, we roll into the final segment of the show. We're kind of doing this is kind of like this is like the infield practice where you can hit the ball third, throw to first. We're just moving the ball around left and right, doing our thing.
Right.
You're on Talking Baseball Australia Live, baseball's best mate. Okay, mentioned over the weekend, or that I went to Globe Life Field. And to set the scene for you guys for this video, what you got to understand is the old stadium is still there, literally right across the street. And I think you'll see in the video, I think I got one picture of it maybe. The old Rangers Park is still there. And my wife and I pulled in, and we looked at each other and I said, there's nothing wrong with that ballpark. I'm looking we're parking 100 yards from the ballpark. I'm going, that ballpark looks great. What's wrong with that ballpark? But then, of course, we're looking at the outside of this new structure. We're going, well, this looks nice. We haven't even been in yet. Well, going inside and being there, experiencing it all, the old ballpark's nice. The new ballpark is a bad arse, if you want to say it like that. Badass, for sure. And I put this little video together, and it's kind of fun. It's about 10 minutes long, so you guys will bear with me. But are you going to stay around for it and close us out with me, or what? What's going to go on?
I'll watch it on I'll watch it as I drive into the office, I think. So
okay, good. I didn't want you to just sit there and have to sip coffee and twiddle your thumbs. But yes, I'm gonna. It's the debut of our new feature, which we'll hopefully be doing
editorial
soon.
debut.
Yeah, of Talking Baseball Australia Field Trip. TBA Field Trip is a new debut on this show, and we're going to bring it up here now. But partner, I'll see you next week. But I'm going to go ahead and play this now, and we'll get this on the screen.
Steven Spielberg, eat your heart out.
Yes, we'll see how this goes. So here we go, and let's roll this thing. And here we go. 3, 2, 1. Enjoy, folks.
He has never suffered a loss personally. He's a 21-3.
what? Say it again.
Let's get some runs! Woo!
overwhelming when we walked in. Amazing. It's so big. I wish I could figure out how the roof opened and closed. The screens are amazing, even at the bar. And it's awesome to be sitting next to this guy.
Oh, that's very sweet. Very, very sweet. Let's give you guys a little flip around here. If it'll flip. Oh, I'm sorry, I won't flip. Yeah, pretty overwhelming place. We love it. I think it's pretty cool. I don't know why I was pressing the flip button, but yes, this place, we've only seen about what?
A little bit.
About 10% of it, 50% of it, and a lot more to explore. And over the years, hopefully we'll do that. And but yeah, pretty fired up to be able to come to our first game at Globe Life Field, and it was a NLCS game. So
Go Dodgers.
go Dodgers! Back to the action. Love you guys. Love you.
Thank you.
There we go. And that is our field trip right there. That is our field trip to Game 6 of the NLCS Talking Baseball Australia Live. Baseball's best mate back here live. Dan Vaughn with you, closing things out here as we round third, head for home. Sliding in, as we always do. Glad you guys sat through that. Hope you enjoyed it. I loved it. Globe Life Field. again, as I told you guys before we started that video, my first impression was, what's wrong with this place? I mean, this is a great ballpark. The one I spent so much time. I wore. I mean, many a night I would sit at the old Rangers Parks, and of course the first one was terrible, but the second one I'm thinking, how many nights I dreamed about being in Australia and calling games, or I was at the Nelson. I should pull that video up. I should pull that up. I'll try to remember to do that, of the Grand Slam home run, the only Grand Slam home run ever hit in the American League Championship Series up until last week. And I was there. I got that video. I should have pulled that up, and dang it, I didn't do that. Thank you, Harold. Appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I appreciate that. Very kind of you guys. I know it's, we originally had, I shot as much as I could. I went to the game thinking, okay, we got to get some video and some photos just for posterity's sake and just to have it. And my wife and I shot that little thing just for fun for our Instagram. Just thought it'd be something to put on Instagram. But as the week went on, we thought we were going to have Cam on this week, Cam Vale, with the CEO of the Australian Baseball League. But there's nothing new to report as far as where that stands. We're going to push it back till we have something more to announce than what they've already talked about. And, it just turned into a little project. And I did that today. Between classes today teaching, and did that. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. And what I wanted to do, I didn't want it to be so slick that you thought, wow, that's I want it to be like you're on vacation, you put your videos and photos together in one montage, like any of us would do on a holiday, right? Any holiday we went on, we get the folks around and show what we did, and there you go. So I had a little bit of a little slick Hollywood working, but also more just sitting around the table with a pint and talking to your mates and talking about your holiday wherever you went. And ours is a baseball holiday. Hopefully won't be the last time. We'll do some more Talking Baseball Australia field trips coming up as we move forward into 2021. Okay, thanks for joining us on the show. Again, several things to remind you of. Don't forget the Aces have that interview with John Deeble coming up with Nicholas Batters. He's got that going for you as well. Also, podcast with the ABL, Australian Baseball League, has one with Andrew Reynolds. And you also got the new Sydney podcast that came out. Of course, we're doing this. This is basically a podcast, but it's a vlog, video podcast, video blog, we'll call it. Let's call it a vlog. A couple more things. I mentioned last week we'd hope to have the website up and running. It's close. Okay, I'm this close, but just a lot of things, a lot of moving parts going on with that as well. A big thank you to my broadcast partner, Paul Morgan. By the way, before I shut it down, I'll give you guys a last call here. Last call on questions and comments about the Australian Baseball League or about baseball in general. You can fire those off right now. All of our videos, by the way, are all on our Facebook page. Will be on there. You can feel free to go by there and check them out. We're also going to have them archived on our website and our YouTube channel as well. We'll have all those updated when the website launches as well. So all looking forward to that. But again, thank you so much for being a part of the show. It's a labor of love, and like all of us. And I see a lot of names out there that joined us today. We all have a labor of love with this whole Australian Baseball League. It's something very, it's like a family. It's a personal thing almost. It's not a business for us. It's not it's not a 9-to-5 thing. This is a passion we have. We all share, and it's always great to see you guys online. And please feel free to fire those questions and comments out anytime we're on the air. And of course, you can always follow us on our social channels as well. Paul, he's the greatest, getting up early and before he goes into work to join me this morning. And of course, just a big thanks to my wife, who was a very big part of the video this week. She's always a big part of what I do, but a big part of the video as well. I say this every time I do a show, and I'm going to say it again. I think I'll just continue to do this. First off, virtual hugs to all you guys. In America right now, we've got this election thing going on and a debate tonight. It doesn't matter what side of that fence you're on. It doesn't matter what side of the country or world you're on. It doesn't matter what team you cheer for. My goal, and I think our goal at Talking Baseball Australia, and I think our goals all should be to be better tomorrow than we were today. Much more love tomorrow. Loving more people tomorrow than we love today. Showing more love, more empathy, and just being kinder and better people tomorrow. It's a crazy 2020. And we're going to get through this thing. We're going to get some baseball. We're going to have something going on. We're not sure what. Yes, there's going to be some kind of schedule starting international conference on the 30th of December, 6 days a week. We do know that. We talked about that a little bit last week. But that's all going to happen. But what we got to do is fight through this 2020, be better people, and come out of this thing in the back end even better. So love all you guys. Much love around the world. Thank you for joining us on Talking Baseball Australia Live, Baseball's Best Mate. For my broadcast partner, Paul Morgan, the greatness of Paul Morgan, my name is Dan Vaughn. We'll see you guys next week, same time, same place, 7 a.m. in the West, 6 p.m. Central Time in North America. Adjust your timepiece accordingly. Oh, by the way, I meant to show this to Paul. Paulie, I got you something, buddy. Here we go. How about that? That came from Globe Life Field. How about that? Again, for all of us here, Paul Morgan, myself, and for all you guys, and just who support us. Thanks a lot. We'll see you guys next week on Talking Baseball Australia Live, Baseball's Best Mate, all year long. Let's roll that close in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Love y'all.
Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back for its root. Root for the